Hello again. I got this little device called an in-store commercial from a store that was gonna chuck it, and it's kind of sad because what this is a little device that plays a video that's stored on an SD card, which is inserted right there, and you'd push this button, and it shows a little commercial about whatever it is, product that they're displaying. And I was gonna do a video on this, open it up and take a look inside and all that, except that my little boy managed to get a hold of it before I did so. I mean, I had already opened it up and I just kind of like looked around inside, but I was going to do like a little bit more experimentation on it. Anyways, he got a hold of it and he managed to tear part of the ribbon cable that goes to the LCD. So now when you push play, all it does is just show a white screen because the backlight LEDs are getting power, but some of the lines going to the LCD, like the data lines, got severed. So yeah, that's all we get now. And unfortunately, when I first got this unit, I mistakenly assumed that it ran off of 9 volts because it's got 6 batteries in it, and I didn't realize that it's actually 3 AA's, and then the other 3 AA's here are actually connected. The 3 are in series, and then the 2 sets in parallel. So it's actually getting 4.5 volts, not 9. And yeah, since I applied 9 volts to it, I ended up frying the audio amp inside here. The little switching regulators that feed the LCD and the CPU and all that, those were able to handle the 9 volts just fine, but the amp just went up in smoke. So there's no audio from this unit, but the video was still playing, but I mean obviously not now because the LCD is damaged. So this is the LCD itself, and that's where he tore it right there. There's 4 lines that are coming from the edge here. It's a 40-pin edge, and then it's got 4 lines coming up here that go to these 4 contacts here, which is supposed to be for like a touch panel. This doesn't have it, so those are pretty much useless. So those 4 right there aren't being used. But there's 5 right here, and then there's like 1 more right here that got severed. And I believe that these 5 are, there might be at least 1 that's for power, and then there's like a few control lines. And I don't know if this is using like SPI or I2C, but there's these other ones right here that I'm pretty sure for each color, like the red, green, and blue. I mean, I don't know which one's which right now, but there's like 8 here, then there's 8 here, then there's another 8 here, so it's using, I'm assuming, 24-bit color. And then there's 2 right here that are for the LED, but since none of this is severed, the backlight still works. It's just the actual control lines and everything for the LCD aren't working. So anyways, you may be asking yourself, well, wait, why the heck are we even doing a video if this LCD is damaged? Well, we'll try to fix it. I was gonna, just pretty much just give up on it and be like, well, crap, whatever, I can't do anything. But I'm gonna see if we can at least fix it enough so that we can get the LCD working again. The good thing is that even though this is like a, it's a flat flex connector, is that this part here doesn't bend really when it's inside the unit. It's mostly, it kind of like the whole thing just kind of stays flat. So even if I put like solder like some really tiny wires in between all those severed connections there, I don't have to worry too much about like bending or anything because this doesn't really bend. And just in case you're curious as to how I'm going to get this really close-up shot, I got a little lens from a scanner, the one that goes to the CCD unit, and I put some double-sided tape on there, and I'm just gonna attach it to the back of my phone here, the lens, and just get that to stick on there, and then go into camcorder mode, and there we go. So now you can zoom in on that and look at it from really up close. So that's you can see where it's cut right there. Those are the 4 lines that go off to the touch panel connectors there. And we look at the other ones here. There's the 5. I believe from those 5 right there, the one farthest to the left is a 5 volt, or I mean a 3.3 volt connection. And then you can see that there's a ground right there. That one's severed also. And then there's one of the lines there for the color that's cut. And then it almost went in like halfway right there to by where the 1 is. Not the one on the left, but that one right there in the center. It almost cut into that other line, but it didn't quite make it. Then all the way clear on the other side, as we can see, we got the 2 thick lines there that go to the LED cathode and anode connections. I believe the one that's right after the LEDs is another power connection, and then we can see the 8 right there for one of the colors, the 8 for the other color, and then the other 8 right there. So the ones right here, these 5, the one that's between the 1 and the X, are the ones that we really want to fix. Well, on the ground too, and then the one for the color. Even though, I mean, if we didn't fix the one for the color, it's just the color's gonna be a little bit off. But those 5 right there, or 6 actually, with that ground, are the most important ones. So what we're gonna use is some, I got this wire right here that's got some really fine like strands, and they're almost about as, I mean, it's gonna be hard to tell in the video right now, but they're pretty much almost as wide as each one of those traces on the flat flex there. So I think this is gonna work just fine. I'm gonna tape down the ribbon to something. I'm not gonna tape it down to the workbench here. Maybe like a piece of aluminum or something to kind of help dissipate some of the heat, because I don't want to burn through the flat flex too easily. And then I'm going to take a bunch of these strands and I'm going to tape them all down so that they're in line here, using some like capped on, like maybe like down here in the bottom, then maybe some like up here at the top, and use that to hold it down. And then, you know, just use like a tiny little bit of flux there. I got to like scrape off the top layer here on the flat flex so that I can get to the copper traces underneath. And then hopefully, you know, I'll apply a little bit of solder and I'll just kind of drag it along, and the flux will hopefully kind of keep it from sticking, you know, keep the wires from sticking to each other. And that way, you know, we can get like individual connections here. We're going to inspect it afterwards to make sure that, you know, we have like one connection per strand of wires. So yeah, we'll give it a shot and see if it works. Hopefully we can get this working again. So this is what I'm going to stick it to. This is what I found. It's actually a back cover from another LCD. I believe this one was from like a Nintendo DS, an older one that had a broken LCD that a friend gave me. I just kind of kept the back. So I'm going to clean this up with alcohol really well, and then I'm going to stick that ribbon here. I think that should be just about the right height to kind of keep this level so I don't accidentally like shear it off or anything. And then I'm going to stick this down here. I'll probably use some tape to stick it up here. Maybe I should just probably move this over to the side a little bit like that. Yeah, and then I'm going to use some tape to stick that down so that it keeps everything like nice and stable. And then I can kind of get in there maybe with like a little bit of sandpaper or something and just kind of gently rub off that top layer. Hopefully that'll work. Alright, I got the macro lens here on my camcorder, and I barely have any room to work. I can barely see what's but I'm going to try to do my best to be able to keep this in shot so you guys can see what's going on here. I got an X-Acto knife right here, and as you can see, it's not very hard to scratch off the top surface of this, and it exposes the copper underneath fairly easily. So I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be scraping all this stuff off, but I'm going to try to use some really fine sandpaper, and then we're going to lay down the strands of copper here, and so you can get a better view, like what I was talking about, that these are really fine. And lay one down right here, and I'm having a super hard time because I have like no room. So as you can see, these are just about the right width, if not pretty much right there, like that. So that one there, I'm gonna have to like give a little bit of a bend so that it'll, you know, solder to that side, and this one not so much. This one's gonna stay pretty much straight, and then the ground right there, and then that one there, and then like I said, we probably should do that one as well just to be on the safe side, even though it doesn't look like it cut all the way across, but we might as well take care of it while it's there. I'm going to start off using some of this 2000 grit sandpaper. Hopefully it's enough to, you know, roughen it up. I'm going to try to be as gentle as possible. I don't want to use anything low just yet because I really don't want to, you know, wear down the copper too much. If this isn't enough, then I'll jump down to something maybe like 800 and try that. So let's gently try to wear it down. And yeah, I think this 2000 stuff might be not rough, or it might not be rough enough. Doesn't seem to be doing much. Geez, the coating on this stuff is a little bit more resilient than I thought. I mean, I'm kind of getting to the copper now, but you can kind of see that the tape here around the edges has worn down more than that coating has. So yeah, it's pretty tough. So I don't know, maybe I have a better or an easier time just scraping it away with the X-Acto knife than that, except the only thing I don't like about the X-Acto knife is that it tends to like catch on it, so I'm kind of worried about pulling the copper up with it too. So I don't know, maybe I'll just I'll just keep trying the sandpaper and hopefully eventually I'll get it down enough. But yeah, so I'm trying to like keep it just in this area so that I don't wear down the tape too much. Okay, so even though I was trying to be as careful as possible, I still managed to wear down one of the other lines that was just totally fine right there. But looks like copper's exposed on both sides of it, so I think I should be able to just patch that up with another little piece of a little strand of copper wire there. And then there's all the ones that we were actually trying to fix. So I'll give it a shot. Alright, so I think that's about as good as this is gonna get. I had to finish scraping off the rest of some of that material off with the X-Acto blade because sandpaper was it's getting a little too rough towards the end there. So what I'm gonna do is well, actually I was trying to figure out a way to get the strands of copper to, you know, stick to the. I was thinking about taping them down at first, but then I thought, well, I'll put this double-sided tape like here on top and bottom. I'll line up the piece of copper, you know, with the trace that I need to fix, and you know, just tack it down to the double-sided tape, and hopefully that'll hold it down. And then once I get all of them in place, then I'm gonna get another piece of Kapton and put it over the top just to hold it down, because I know that once I heat up those copper wires, that they're going to soften up the adhesive on the double-sided tape here. I think the Kapton's a little bit more resistant to that. So once those are in place and I got them tacked down with the Kapton, I'm going to apply a little tiny bead of flux across here, across all the pins that I need, or all the traces that I need to fix, and then I'll come with a really fine tip on my soldering iron and just kind of, you know, gently drag it across, and hopefully that'll get everything to stick. Okay, so I had to do this all off camera because, yeah, it was a pain trying to do it underneath it, but I've got all the little copper strands laid across each one, and you can see that I've laid another piece of Kapton tape right here, right above everything, to kind of like hold them down so that they don't move at these points here where they need to like be steady. And I've got another piece up here holding everything down. Give these each one a bend so that, you know, they're not going straight up and then they solder onto the next one. Hopefully everything stays in place. What I'm going to do is as I mentioned, is I'm going to apply like a little bit of flux all the way across, and then I'm going to take a really fine tip on the soldering iron, and I'm going to put a little ball of solder on the end, and then I'm just going to drag the ball across. I'm not going to touch each one of these with the soldering iron itself. I'm just going to let the ball do all the work, and hopefully the flux, you know, reducing the surface tension of the solder, allows everything to flow, and hopefully they don't stick together. Okay, so this is the tip I'm going to be using, and if it would focus on it, it would be nice. What I did is I took this really small tip that I bought, and I filed away this sort of like little cavity on the end. I use this a lot for really small stuff like this because it really helps. So I put some, I'm trying not to touch the board here. What I end up doing is I put a little bit of, I melt some solder, and it kind of forms a little ball in this area here, and then I'll just use that and just gently drag it across, and that should hopefully do the trick. Alright, so you can see I've got the flux on there. I'm going to apply some solder to this tip here and form a nice little ball. Alright, so I've got a little ball of solder there. I'm going to try to drag it across here, and it's super hard to do on camera, but and unfortunately it appears that the plate I'm using is actually taking away too much of heat, because it's yeah, this ball of solder is hardening up on the wires there. Well, let me see what I can do about that. I'm going to try to drag them down. You can probably tell I'm shaking like crazy. Let's see. I think that one might be okay. Now we got to try to do the same on these right here. There we go, there we go. It's coming off. Okay, might need a little bit more flux on those right there. Alright. Got a little more flux on there. Come on, let's drag it down. Come on, ball. That piece right there won't come off. There it goes. There we go. So I think that might have done the trick. I don't see any bridges, do you? Let's try to make sure that we get everything nice and coated here. Make sure that it sticks. I don't think that last one there's sticking very well. Alright, one more go with some fresh solder. Oh no, that one bridged. Oh, I'll try to fix it in a bit. Let's see if we can separate that one there. Just gonna stick the tweezer in between and bring it down. There it goes. Okay. Alright, so I think that might be good. Okay, I'm using my phone camera here with that scanner lens, and it looks like everything's stuck on there properly. So I think we're good there. It doesn't, no bridges. Everything looks like it's gonna work. So well, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and trim those leads now. What I'm gonna do to trim them, I'm gonna put the X-Acto knife across those the copper strands, and then I'm gonna bend them upwards, and hopefully that'll cause them to shear. I don't want to put pressure down on the flat flex because I don't want to accidentally cut some more of those traces. But now I should be able to just remove this cap on here on top. Hopefully it doesn't pull these off. I'm going to kind of do it outward so that it pulls away from them. Hey. Not liking that right there. Oh, it's just because it's pulling the double-sided tape along with it, so I just got to hold that down. So there it goes. There's the bottom layer. So I'll put the blade right here across the bottom, like so, like that. Just let it rest there, and I'm going to take the tweezers. I'm going to bend these up like that. Oh boy, this isn't as easy as I thought it would be. I think I need to put a little bit more pressure down on that blade. There's one. Alright, so there's all the ones from the bottom. Got to straighten these out a little bit here. But looks like overall we're okay there. So now we got to do the top. So I got them all trimmed and it went mostly okay, except that there's a couple here that I guess must have lifted up a bit when I pulled on them. That one there, not that one. See, these are okay. Oh, that one there looks a little iffy. No, it looks like it's stuck to the bottom part there, which is okay. That one there looks like it's stuck to the bottom one, but the top part here doesn't look so hot. And that's going to be really difficult to try to get them to stick now. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to hold them down with the tweezer and just try to touch it as lightly as I can with the tip of that soldering iron, and hopefully I'll be able to get them to stick. Alright, so that was a pain, but I managed to tack them down, and I accidentally touched I had to tack up some of the other ones too, because in the process they kind of shifted over a little bit when I tried to tack down the one next to it, but it looks like they all should be pretty good now. See, none of these are moving, so I think it'll be okay. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a cleaning with some alcohol to try to get all this crap off, and after that we'll plug it in and see if it works. Alright, moment of truth, here goes. I haven't tested it yet, so we're gonna both find out together if it's gonna work or not. This thing should turn on as soon as I stick the battery all the way in, so here goes. And, well, oh, I see something on the LCD, but no backlight. What the heck? Weird. Well, found the problem. Turns out that the little ribbon going to the backlight there, from being straight up like this, it's in such a bad position. I mean, it's not even centered in there. Look at that. That it sheared that piece off right there. So apparently it looks like the LCD is working now, but not the backlight, because I ended up tearing it right there. Just can't catch a break, can we? Fortunately, this one here is fine. Nothing happened there. I ended up putting some tape over those connections just to kind of keep them a little bit secure there, and so that they're not rubbing on anything and they don't accidentally get moved around. So let's fix that now. Okay, I pulled the whole LCD assembly apart. That's the actual screen right there. So I'm going to be careful with that. Try not to break this part. I'll set this aside. So here is the backlight. Looks like what they did is that they didn't solder this in all the way where it was supposed to go. It actually looks like it's shifted like kind of like far off to the left there, which is why that opening doesn't quite line up with the ribbon itself. So this will be a much easier fix. I could probably just get like two just really small wires or something and just solder them in there, and then just bring them like right out of here. That should probably work just fine. Okay, so here's what I did. I just took two pieces of Kynar wire, and I just soldered those onto there. I'll just pass those through that opening, and then I'll solder that onto the rest of the flat flex, and this should work. Okay, it's all back together again. You can see there's my little fix. Here we go again. Yay, it works. Sweet. Yeah, and I don't have the card in there, so that's why it's showing that. But yeah, I call that success. So thanks for watching. This video is not going to go on any much longer, because like I said, I was planning on doing that whole thing separate, actually, like experimenting with this. But I just wanted to do the whole fix thing, and it was successful. So, and it looks like all the colors are there, so yeah, because that's supposed to be pretty blue, and the whites are there and everything, so, and red. So thanks for watching again, and hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you guys next time.